stay fresh like a brand new whip. That new smell, switching it up, too stale. They try to text, leaving my red, switching the phone, new cell. Secrets I kept, do tell. We had a fight, tooth nail. This is a race, I know my place. Coming for first, blue shell. Whoa, just so you know, I'm the one who's disrupting the industry. Baby, just throw up the stats. I used to lack a direction, ironic, cause nowadays I put the globe on the map. Don't need the publicist, I don't want none of this. I keep it simple, I show up and rap. Whoa, feeling like Cardi when she got the bag. You know I'm closing the gap. Auto tune off, but the tune's on auto. I set trends and then you all follow. See no stack like a do staccato. DIY, that's the crew whole motto. Float on the beat like it's easy mode. I'm on a whole different level, don't even know. I couldn't load the whole clip and don't need to reload it. I'm golden, I got it unlimited. Listen, they know it. I'm about it. My penmanship different and missing. It's not in my diction and fiction. It's not in my writtens. I'm leaving them smitten. I'm keeping it fresh like a brand new whip. That new smell, switching it up, too stale. They try to text, leaving my red, switching the phone, new cell. Secrets I kept, do tell. We had a fight, tooth nail. This is a race, I know my place. Coming for first, blue shell.
I know some homies that lost my respect on the way, and that's a reality check. My problems are stacking up problems, it's taller than me, for real. It's giving me headaches. Please don't be putting no cameras in my face. That's tax, reality checks. Protecting the image and cropping the L's. Life editing, the vision is blessed. The money motion 360, moving in circles, and this shit track on me. Yeah, I got it for free, don't shop at the mall, nigga. What you even know about bricks? If you don't get it, that's cool. Why you tryna tap in, dog? You didn't even know about leaks. I'm rocking exclusive, drinking kombucha. I'm still beating on beats. They jacking the sauce, they trying to duplicate flows. The bars is bootleg. Making it flows, don't keep me afloat. The money, my language, I'm fluent.
New smell, switching it up, too stale. They try to text, leaving my red.
Ron Newman, a championship's brewing. Sweet 16. The San Diego Sockers are back-to-back MASL Ron Newman Cup champions.
You think I'm jumping out the window? I got a move.
Tavoy Morgan says, I ain't done. He's got his 5th goal of the game in the 3rd quarter. For Childs, his header, goal! Childs bends to the far post, goal! It's Williams back to Pereira's, his shot, saved by Pardo, the save of the year! And he's got Gutierrez, and Christian Gutierrez will shoot and score! Jordas with a step to the middle, to the left foot, still open, shoots, he scores! Charlie fakes around a man, shoots, he scores!
Hello once again, everybody. Welcome to Soccer's Overtime. You look inside the San Diego Sockers and the Major Arena Soccer League. We come to you streaming live on Twitch, our at San Diego Sockers Twitch channel. Hope you are having yourself a fine Tuesday, and it's just about to get a lot better. Craig Elston, Jerry Jimenez back with you. It's Season 5, Episode 5 of Soccer's Overtime as Jerry, those San Diego Sockers, go out there and get 2 wins in 2 games. So far, so good.
So far, so good, man. I think it was an interesting weekend for sure. We talked about it in the podcast before, right? Would we be okay with a 1-1? 1 win, 1 loss. And I think we both agreed that we would be okay with it. But, hey, this is way, way better. And, yes, I am camouflage for those of you. Welcome in, all of you. I see all your chats coming in here on Twitch. I'm wearing a lot of blue today. This is new gear, guys. I had to sport it. Look, we had new hats, new shirts, and now I'm blue everywhere. I'm blue, double D, double da, however that song goes. Anyways, good to be here, Craig.
We want to say thanks to everybody who's here. We've got a great crowd already gathered, and I see the chat is already getting lively here on our Twitch channel at San Diego Soccers. Welcome to all of you, our Tier 1s, our early adopters in. We also say hello to everybody who's watching us on replay on our YouTube channel at San Diego Soccers, and a special final hello to everybody listening to the podcast. I hope we got the audio levels right for you this week. Just know that we've heard you and we're trying to make it good. Trying to make it good for you. We are here and we've got a lot going on tonight's show, Jerry, including a chance to chat with a man who probably coulda, shoulda, woulda been the MVP last season. Tavoy Morgan will be our guest at the bottom of the hour. Soccers opened their season with back-to-back wins over Empire. And after a full weekend of action, who's up, who's down in the MASL so far? We're going to break it all down on tonight's show, and we thank you all for being here. No one can see you.
No one can see
I don't understand. I see you perfectly.
I'm going to change some colors or something maybe a little bit later. I'll throw something else on so you guys can see me. That's hilarious. Man.
By the way, you were talking about your merchandise. Tonight I am hanging out showing you the brand new Soccers beanie with the 16-star logo up front. You can get that along with our brand new winter scarf at the merchandise stand for just $40, our winter bundle at next Sunday's game. So if you want to use that as an early Christmas present or maybe a late Christmas present idea, there you go, Jerry. Black coat.
Better?
Yeah. Hey, Jerry's here.
I'm back.
We had this disembodied voice earlier.
Yeah.
Now we've got Jerry Jimenez. At least I can see your head now. No, I'm kidding. I could see you all the time. I don't know what these guys are talking
You're
about.
Fine. Let's just change it up. All right, we're good.
I like it. I can see you loud and clear now, so to speak. All right. Let's get into it, Jerry. Let's start talking about the weekend that was. First time, 5th episode that we get to do game recaps. And we've got our star coming up who we can ask about several of these things in 20 minutes. We will absolutely do that with Tavoy Morgan. But 2 games in 2 nights for the San Diego Soccers, a home-and-home back-to-back with the team formerly known as Fury. And Saturday night up at Toyota Arena. I always get stumbling now because I want to say Ontario Toyota Arena, and then I go, oh, they don't like the word Ontario anymore, and then I always get stopped. But let's roll in the highlights. And the first thing I'll say that you can't see on the highlights, Jerry, I was really proud of our San Diego Soccers fans because I'm sure the Fury management weren't psyched with the level of attendance that they had. It was pretty small for a Saturday night crowd, but I thought half of that crowd was San Diego Soccers fans at least. A lot of our season ticket members made the 2-hour drive up I-15, really came out, and they had something to celebrate early as Tavoy Morgan scored just a minute and change into the contest to make it 1-0, and Leo diming one off, a little very subtle distribution over to Tavoy Morgan, and hopefully the sign of many, many things to come this year.
Yeah, I love that connection. I mean, you just cannot, give them enough praises because Leo and Tavoy together are just spectacular. And, yeah, kudos to the fans. I heard that there was a few major Soccers fans that couldn't make it out, but there was still a lot that were there. So it was great to hear you guys. I could hear you on the broadcast on a few times, and I think they even mentioned it during the broadcast. Both the doctor and Philly were mentioning that there was quite a bit of blue in the stands, which you just love to hear it. You love to hear it. I really wanted to make the trip, but couldn't make it, and I'm glad that there was all of you there to make noise for me. So yeah, going back to Tavoy and Leo, I think, that first game in Ontario, it was really interesting to see them. I think we've seen it before in the past season, but wow, they put on a show. And once we get into the 2-1 here at home, I think for that game specifically, just Leo and Tavoy together, that connection, Craig, is just, it's deadly, and it's going to be very lethal for us for this entire season.
I really felt being there, even with the new additions. And let's say one thing right off the top, because we spent some good time talking about him on the last show. Adrian Perez, really bad luck for Ontario, came up COVID positive the morning of the 10th. So right away, you knew he was out for the whole weekend. They're hoping to have him back on Friday when Empire takes on Mesquite. And now that Mesquite is going to be our next opponent on Sunday, I guess we're hoping for that too, for Adrian Perez to be back and maybe to be very effective when he is back. But, Mo Ndiaye, Adam James, Costa, Gabriel Costa, the new players in the Fury lineup, they've got some attack, but I just think when you watch these two teams up close, and again, referring to last week's show and talking about the defense, it's just too much for Empire to contend with when everyone is fit and fresh, to have Leo and Tavoy, to have Christian and Escoto and Charlie Gonzalez and a guy like Serta that can come up from the back and be dangerous and score, and Felipe Gonzalez. There's too many weapons for Empire to slow down over the course of an entire game.
Yeah, and it was really interesting to see, because I don't think that they're gelling quite yet, especially with the new additions. And then Adrian Perez coming in, I think there's going to be a lot of changes. I'm glad that for these two games there wasn't. But I do think that we're going to see a totally different Empire team. But talking about our attack and how many weapons we have, I mean, it's been said and we'll continue to say it. I think we're just such a deep team where, two changes in, even the third line is super strong and just powerful when it comes to scoring goals. And, I mean, this game right here was proof of that. And, it was just too much for Empire. We were just way too much that game.
I also want to point out, because they often will get overlooked in a game like this with 13 goals, Mitchell Cardenas saved a ball off the line. Guerrero Pino saved a ball off the line in this game. Two guys who each, had a moment to help really contribute some big-time defense. Boris Pardo wasn't tested all that often, but I thought he did a good job in this game when he was. And then the second half comes, it's 5-3 after three quarters. It's right there. It's a good, solid, competitive indoor soccer match. And then the Sockers just come out in the fourth quarter, and they're able to run 2v1s and 3v2s down the floor against Ontario and build up to a 7-3 advantage, at which point, halfway into the fourth quarter, Empire goes to 6 attack. Gets a couple of back while, holding that sixth attacker on the line before the Sockers tack one on at the end. Good thing for them being in their second game against the Sockers in their first game to get a couple sixth attacker goals in. But I was really, and especially when I reviewed the game tape, and thanks as always to Eddie Trujillo doing a great job putting these highlight videos together for us here at Sockers. Especially reviewing the game tape, Jerry, I was amazed at how poorly Empire was defending in the third and fourth quarter of that match, and key players on their team, star players, not tracking back, not putting full effort into defense, allowing those outmanned rushes to get all the way to the goalkeeper. Honestly, for a team that should be really hungry this year, it was very surprising to me.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think that they just had an off night. It was really odd to see this team because, like you said, I mean, the veterans were just not putting up a fight, and you just saw a lot of open spaces. Sockers were given plenty of opportunities, and it's just surprising to see this team be where it is right now. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't think that this is the final version of Empire Strikers that we're going to see near the end of the season. I think that they're going to, quickly start getting there. But for this game specifically, man, like it was just really, looking back at it, it was just a really bad showing for their defense. and it's just unfortunate for them. Great for us, as you mentioned it. Those 6th attacker goals. I mean, they brought in their 6th attacker with like 7 minutes left or something.
Yeah, hang on. I got it on my score sheet. 6:54. So, basically with 7 minutes to go. And then they've used it 4 different times because, ball will go out of play. They have to run the keeper in, and then they run him back out. So, and they got 2 goals in that scenario. They got a goal off the Soccer's penalty kill as well in a 6v4 situation where Felipe Gonzalez had taken a blue card, and then they added the 6th attacker. So, good for them. I think good learning, and it's one thing that we talked to Mitchell Cardenas about after that match, that you kind of appreciate a match like that to start the season where some things are shown that you really do need to work on. Penalty kill, 6th attacker against. Do you have that fitness to go 4 quarters? You see these things, and yet you get the win, and so you don't have to pay the penalty to learn the lesson.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting of Mitchell to mention, but also – what a great mentality to have. It's like, we are learning, we're making mistakes, but we're learning as we're going, and it's good to get wins while we're learning. And that was pretty cool of Mitchell to say. It's really it's really early in the season, Craig. I think we've talked about this before, and I hope everybody also sees that, like, the Sockers weren't perfect by any means either. I think that we do still have quite a bit of work to do. One thing that I did see in the chat, and I wanted to mention and kind of bring it up to you as well, we had quite a few issues with the carpet there at Toyota Arena, and that could, become a safety issue. That was really interesting to see as well.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of I think both Escoto and Christian at some point wound up that it was that last strip before the goal wall on one side of the floor that didn't seem to be taped down well enough or tacked down well enough, and came up, I think, once in 2 different quarters. Not a fan when that happens. I've seen it in other arenas. It's not impossible for the carpet to buckle, but it wasn't laid extremely well. There's no question about that. And, I do feel for the Strikers. And this was just game 1, and, of course, it's another loss for them at home. They haven't won in a while, and another chance to try and impress their crowd to start the season, and they were not able to impress their crowd. But just hearing the story one more time and more detailed of how the Ontario Fury ceased to be and how it was a team 40 years inactive and like one fan renewing the trademark over and over and paying for it to keep it alive. And then the mistake made by Bernie Lillivois just not to do something simple, some kind of simple accounting, paperwork, management, club management. And then for it all to be kind of, they thought they had it handled, and then they get a letter in the mail and they have to change everything in like a couple of weeks. It's just crazy. And your heart is almost starting to go out to them. I mean, I know they're supposed to be, that's got to sound terrible if you're an Ontario fan to hear me say that, right? Because you guys are supposed to hate us and are supposed to be taking us down. It's supposed to be like Padres Dodgers, like we're coming for you. And instead I'm like almost feeling sorry for what's going on with the franchise and with their fans. But that's how I felt watching them have to roll out there on Saturday night with a very poor crowd and the carpet not really taped down, and to get trucked by the Sockers again. Yeah. It's a tough hang. One game last year was really competitive up there. The other 2 games, the Sockers really took it to them, and they pretty much did that again this night.
Yeah, they mentioned it a few times in the broadcast, our score, I guess, against them. I think we're like 20-something to, 1 digit. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I think it's now 28-8. I believe it's now 28-8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to start a hashtag if it was more of a rivalry. It just doesn't feel right. But, like, I don't know. You know how, like you mentioned, Dodgers, Padres, beat LA. Well, everybody says beat LA, but they're not technically LA. They're Empire. So can we start like a hashtag beat the E? Beat the E. No, that wouldn't work because then it's 2 E's. And never mind. I don't know.
Beat the, yeah.
We're going to have to brainstorm
work on that one.
Brainstorm it.
We'll workshop it.
We'll workshop it. Yeah. Let us know in the comments what
so,
you think. Beat IE. Ooh.
Beat IE. Beat IE. I mean,
That's not bad.
It's good. I'm not saying it's bad, Callan. It's good. There's kind of something to like, do you really even need to beat IE? It's not like beat LA. You know what I mean? Like, what's IE ever done to us?
That's true.
Tried to secede, allegedly? Not really. Maybe one man's fantasy. It's tough. And you're right, goals and boards. It is. It's a big brothering situation, including Big Brother tussling the hair and going, kid, don't worry, you'll grow. You'll get bigger someday. And that's kind of what we're doing right now.
Hey,
let's transition to
real quick. Goals and boards. You mentioned it. I would love for y'all to go and check it out. Gio, my boy, had me over there. They're doing some really good stuff on Goals and Boards podcast. It's on YouTube. Look it up. GNB Goals and Boards. I was just a guest, and so I had to plug that. That's it.
Outstanding. And there you saw the last goal, if you're watching the highlights here on the show, with Christian Gutierrez putting the final nail in the coffin with 4 seconds left. So 8-5 the final on Saturday night. Soccer's on the good foot. And then you transition, and just 22 hours later, it's time for the ring ceremony. It's time for Game 2. There's the everyone gathering around the Ron Newman Cup, showing off their rings. The ring was the thing. And, we've talked about this, I think, definitely last year, how sometimes ring ceremony games, like from a betting standpoint, it's always good to beat the opponent. Because they're out there watching you celebrate and go, kind of getting like, And more important was 2 games in 2 days, because by the nature of it, and we even talked about this again last week on the show, you knew the second game was likely to be low scoring, was likely to be much closer as a result of being low scoring, because I think the magic, the true skill, that's what wanes a little bit when you get really tired legs on both teams. And it's the grit and the determination that and the stick-to-itiveness that can persevere into a second game in 2 days. So, Brandon Escoto scores in the first quarter. Stinson on the ball that came off of Pino's foot in the second quarter. Then there's no scoring until overtime. But in that second quarter, there was great flow. There was back and forth. There were chances. By the third and fourth quarter, Jerry, man, it was hard for these guys to really put together a great attack.
You could absolutely tell that they had just played a game the day before. Everybody, both teams were, just totally slower. It was still a fast game, obviously. They still put in an effort, but you could tell. If you really look closely, there was a struggle there for sure. And, was it that more than Empire stepped it up, Craig? What do you think? Was it more the fact that
Empire definitely stepped it up.
Okay.
I think it was both, but if I had to put one more than the other, I'd say the thing that was the most evident was that both teams were tired, and so the overall level went down. And look, I told you after the match, I said, I'm really happy we win this one, because when I go on Soccer's Overtime and say, I really, really wish the league wouldn't schedule back-to-backs for any franchise's first 2 games. And remember, St. Louis and Kansas City did that earlier this year, too, and had back-to-back. I believe Utica and Harrisburg had back-to-back to start their season. That second game, it's just the level of indoor soccer is going to go down, the overall level. And for many of the fans, they don't notice the difference. But for the astute fans of the game, they really do notice the difference. And it's just unfortunate. It just leads to potential unfortunate health outcomes, and it definitely leads to a change in the quality of soccer. So I wish that wouldn't have happened. The fact that it did happen, and a team that compounded that by only coming into training camp 2 weeks prior was able to come out with 5 out of 6 points and 2 wins. I just think that's terrific. But it reminds me, Jerry, of something Boris Pardo said after the match as well, which is, with this team, if it's not one thing that beats you, it's another. So if the offense is cold and the skill players aren't finishing on that night and the passes aren't connecting, it's the defense. It's the goalkeeping. And on nights when maybe the defense is off or the other team is shooting red hot, then it's the offense. If they shut down Tavoy, then it might be Leo. If it's not Craig Childs one night, it might be Escoto. We just have so many different ways to take on a team and to break down a team, and it's got to be disheartening on the other side.
Yeah, for sure. We're getting a lot of comments here, people agreeing with you and seeing the same type of thing. I do believe the Strikers played better defense, just like Eddie said. And, we do have to think about the future, too. And Callan brought this up. We do have I'll put it back up here real quick. Back-to-back early January when we play one night in Dallas and then come home to play Dallas. So that's going to be another interesting weekend for sure.
And thankfully, at least the team will be a month into the season at that point and have that 6 weeks of legs underneath them. But it's a great point made by Callan, and I'll just add to that in the original version of the schedule, it was a night game in Dallas and then a night, a 5:00 game in San Diego. And we said, you can't do that. You can't put both teams on morning flights from Texas to San Diego and play a game the same day. It's absolutely ridiculous. So at least with a 1:00 start in Texas that day, they'll have that last flight out of Love Field, to get home on Saturday night and be able to at least wake up in San Diego on Sunday and play a game. But absolutely, throw in airplane flights and what it does to guys' legs, and it's for sure going to be a low-scoring game on January 8th. It's just almost a guarantee it'll be a low-scoring game on January 8th. So, we hope that the new cross-border kits will have a lot of goals in them down the road, but I don't know if they will in that first match.
Hey, one thing I was going to ask you, and I'm sorry I'm not better prepared, but would you mind checking what shots on goal was? Because I remember looking at the Jumbotron, and the shots on goal that day were ridiculous for us. And actually,
it was 35-19 on the final count.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
35-19.
Yeah.
And the Sockers outshot Empire every single frame.
Yeah.
6-3, 9-6, 8-5, 10-3, and 2-1 in overtime. And Chris Toth was fantastic. Just fantastic on Sunday night. And he was busy. He was in a shooting gallery and had 27 saves on the official tally.
Yeah,
we did have, I mentioned it on the air, we did have a first-day guy doing scoring, and I don't know if he gave him a couple extra saves along the way. But on the other side, and and Boris confirmed it to both you and I, Jerry, after the match, it's a harder situation in a goaltending duel to be the goalkeeper that is not getting a lot of action, and then the action you get is intense. Chris was in a groove. He had seen shot after shot, and he was like completely in. Boris would have 6 minutes without a shot, and then he'd have a golden chance. And really he made 5 or 6 A+ saves in the second half and into overtime, where it's point blank, it's coming against the run of play. It's the type of goal that would just be soul-crushing, and he comes up with a save. So great goalkeeping all the way around. Toth was spectacular. Pardo was as clutch as it comes.
Yeah, and, Boris mentioned to us, too, right? I think he said it in the interview. He said, I told Chris, I had a conversation with Chris Toth afterwards, and I told him, you guys deserved more. You honestly deserved that win because you guys were really stepping it up, and because of you. He basically saying to Chris, like, man, you played on your head today, and giving him props. And you just love to hear that, too, that these guys have, mutual respect for each other. I know that, Chris as an ex-soccer and knows all of these guys, and just playing with them as well. But there's that respect. And man, Chris was he was amazing, man. I just hats off to him because what a performance. And Boris, he knows it as well. What a great goalkeeping performance that game.
The highlight that's playing right now, and just as a reminder for folks who might have jumped back in at 5:30, Tavoy Morgan coming up in just a couple minutes here on the show as we wrap up our discussion of Match 2. This is where I thought Empire was going to win, because when Uzi Tayu manages to jump the defense, manages to surprise one of the sharpest guys in the league in Guerrero Pino and draw a blue card penalty with 49 seconds left in regulation, I thought, okay, a play like that's the kind of play that's going to end a 10-match losing streak. a veteran on your team, a guy that you're not expecting to come up with a big play offensively, comes up with one. They're going to sneak one in. His brother's going to score, and Empire's going to win the match. And, again, what could have been for this club? Here we see in the highlight run, they get a top of the arc, 4 minutes into sudden death overtime, and Taiyu has a clever play. Frank Taiyu makes a clever play to move the wall and just misses on his shot. And then seconds later, Nate Abarea had said it on our broadcast. He said it's not going to come down to a moment of crispness. It's going to come down to a mistake. And there it was. Juan Tapete, 1/2 second of a poor touch, taking his eye off the ball. Serta jumps him and makes a perfect shot to beat Chris Toth and end this match.
I wanted to share this shot that we got. Again, kudos to Eddie for the highlights because, yes, I think I saw it in the chat too. MASL is releasing highlights of the games, but it's mainly the goals. And they're much shorter highlights. They're about 2 minutes long. And Eddie actually goes through the entire game. And, I mean, these are 10-minute long, cuts. So thank you so much, Eddie, for that. But I wanted to share this with you guys. Let me see if I can put it on here. Justice Parman doing some work, too. Look at this shot of the Cesar Cerda goal, Craig. You've seen it before, but check this out, everybody. Like, how beautiful is this? Just takes the ball away, perfectly placed to the left of Chris Toth. Boom. Just what a beautiful goal. What a great way. I'm so glad that we won that game. It could have gone either way, like you mentioned, but man, Cesar Cerda coming in clutch, man. He does it over and over and over, Craig.
3 goals in 2 matches for the captain. What an incredible effort by Cesar Cerda. 4 points. He's our tied with Tavoy for our team lead offensively after 2 matches, and has a habit of coming up with these clutch goals to beat the franchise from the Inland Empire.
Yeah.
Incredible with that close-up to see the angle. Toth played the angle down exactly right, where the only place Cesar Cerda could beat him was side netting. And if you get beat on a goal into the side netting from outside, you just tip your cap. No cap, but Chris in that case just kind of put his chin to his chest and was just like, yep, that's it. That's the goal. Incredible stuff. And I'll just say to wrap that up, 43 is the new number. Now, remember, the Sockers have a very special number in franchise history, 48.
43.
And that's a 48. Yeah, that's a 48-match winning streak. The Sockers, for 43 straight matches, have at least made it to overtime. They have not lost a regulation match since March 2021 up at Ontario against the Fury. And since then, the only losses they've had, and I believe it's a total of 4, are all overtime losses. So 39-0-4 over 43 matches. It's not the same as 48-0, but also, the MASL isn't the same as what the PASL was in 2011 to 13. Like, this is a hard league. This is a much harder league, I think, a much more complete league, and it's pretty dang impressive. They've gotten a point, considering the point system, they've gotten a point, at least, in 43 straight matches.
So you're saying there's a chance to break it?
I mean, ish. Losses still, losses
I mean,
are
I think we
losses.
should ask Tavoy and see what he thinks. That's just me.
I think we should as well. Let's welcome in our special guest. He's been waiting patiently. He doesn't usually have to wait long to score. He scored in the 2nd minute of the season and had a hat trick to celebrate match 1. He is the MASL Elite 6 forward. Tavoy Morgan is our special guest here on episode 5 of Soccer's Overtime. Tavoy, it's your old pals Craig and Jerry here with you. Thank you so much, man, for your time this evening.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you for having me.
And our fans, we got about 30 folks in the chat right now, and they're all saying hello to you as well and getting excited to have you here. So we're all psyched to have you here. Hey, first thing first, man, you had a day of recovery yesterday. Back-to-back matches to start the season. Not easy on the body, my friend. How are you feeling?
I feel all right. Happy with both performance. You know, as you know, the second game was a little bit more tougher on our body, but we still keep up in the defense and to get that victory in the overtime.
Yeah, I see your rings there, Tavoy. Nice, sporting your 2 rings. I just had to point that out. That's awesome. Um,
Thank you.
so what a fantastic weekend for you. I know specifically on Saturday, man, we were all just screaming hat trick and so excited for that. How did that feel when first hat trick of the season? Hopefully many more. But then the way that you went about it too. How did that feel? And kind of walk us through what that was like.
It was a great feeling to get my first hat trick of the season, but it's all start off with my teammates, or we all communicate, or we all have the vibes on the buses, going to the game in the locker room. It's all start from there, and the warm up. We warm up, we have the vibes. So going into that game, we have to score goals and stay strong on the defense.
I go through those 3 goals to Voy, and goal number 1, set piece. Your man Leo knows where you are, where you need to be at the right time, gives you the little tap you need to get that open look. Goal 3, perfect pass across the field, and nobody blocks it for Ontario, and you get another setup, right, where you just have to blast it in. Goal number 2, you got a chance to take on one of the younger Fury defenders 1v1 out at the yellow line and just beat him like a drum and come in on net. And I just wonder because so many times, including almost all of Sunday, right, you saw a double team and you get the ball and there's somebody in your small of your back and there's somebody at your feet. When you have the ball at your feet facing goal and you just see one guy in front of you, how excited do you get?
Yeah, if I turn and I see one guy in front of me, I know my job is to take him on. If he win it, he win it, but I'm gonna take him on and do what I do best. He gave me a lot of space in that one, so I just turn around and just tell myself I'm gonna take him on it. I beat him and I saw the goalie coming, so I have to hit it with a lot of power, and it went in.
We saw on Sunday, obviously, it was a little bit of a tougher game for the entire team. Do you think that Empire adjusted defensively to you on Sunday, or what do you attribute that having a tougher match?
Yeah, I think so a little bit. I think they are just a little bit from how we played them the day before. I know they're gonna come with a lot of adjustment, but we stick with our game plan. They came out their defense, and it's part of the game. It's not every time you're gonna see so many goals, but we move on
Yeah,
from that one though.
yeah,
Well, along those lines, yeah. I mean, you got to win the low scoring ones. You got to win the high scoring ones. But on the days that the offense isn't quite clicking and the finish isn't quite there, how happy are you to turn around and look back and see guys like Cardenas, like Cerda, like Pino, like Rojo, and of course like Boris Pardo, guys that can keep the score low until you guys find a way to put it in the net?
Yeah, we have a team like that. If our striker is not stepping up, we have our midfielder like Charlie, Leo, Brandon. We have guys that can step up. So we have a solid team that we just gotta get a rhythm. That's what we're gonna work on. Get a rhythm, and once we get that, it's gonna be unstoppable. So we just focus on this game coming up and then take on the break and be ready for the new year.
One of the things that we're always talking about is how important this uh, team mesh is. Like what happens on the field actually matters. It matters how well you guys get along. And one of those friendships that I've seen that is just growing, and we talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the show, is your connection with Leo and what you guys can do together. Um, how has that grown, and how is it? Tell us first of all why. What is it about you two that meshes so well in your game? Um, and how it is that you guys manage to do what you do.
I mean, since I came here, I like Leo's style of playing. Escoto, you know, and Serda. A lot of guys, but Leo is more, like a pass master as you can see. So he's always looking for me. You know I can finish, so and he live right next to me, so we always talking about the games, different stuff. So that connection is just right there. As Craig always say, the Jamaican flavor, the Brazilian flavor, it's just kind of right there.
Yeah,
I
you
love
got the
it.
green, you got the yellow, right? You share some colors.
Just the black and blue is the only different color, really. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. And you said it. You guys live next to each other. I always see you. You guys are inseparable. And I just always see you guys, whether you're teasing one another or you're laughing and goofing off, making jokes. It just feels like you two in particular, it almost seems brotherly, like the kind of connection you have.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that, we're trying to I know we don't really speak much English, but we still try communicate as much. We drive to practice every day together. We do a lot of stuff together. We go shopping together, so it's that brother love. So on the field, it's the same, we're always looking for each other. We're trying to build that band on the field. So every time we go up against a team, they just gotta expect, and we have all round players that can play all round. So it's gonna hard to stop, but we trying to build this rhythm going in. You know, that's all we need, the rhythm.
So, question for you. We recently found out, obviously, we have a new member of the team, Anthony Pacheco. He came in and actually played and added to the team this weekend. What are your thoughts on young Anthony Pacheco?
Oh yeah, he's a pretty good player with a lefty. You just have to learn the game, the boards, to get the sub in and sub off as quick as possible. But it's gonna take a lot of time. He's really wanted to play, but he just don't really understand the league and the rules, like being on the field, defense, offense. So I still talk to him, teach him as much as I can. In practice, I talk to him same way off the field. So he's gonna get it together by next year. He should be ready.
One of the things that
And
we talk about is, learning as you go. I think Mitchell Cardenas mentioned it. And what better way for Anthony to learn than to actually be out there with you guys and have people like you that teach him, right? So, I think he's gonna mesh real well pretty quickly. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
hey, Tavoy, you got the chance, and I saw you shared it on your social media, so I know you've had the chance to see it. We put together a video that we're sharing on the Jumbotron during the match called My Hometown, where we're spotlighting some of the guys who did not grow up in San Diego. And we debuted the My Hometown video with Tavoy Morgan on Sunday's match and on our YouTube channel as well. What did you think about how it wound up coming out in the finished product?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. My mom called me, my stepdad, my family back home. They all loved it. Just to know where I'm coming from and where I'm at right now, doing what I love. You know, I get a lot of good feedbacks, positive. Everyone say they love it. It's nice.
Thank you for taking the time to do that. By the way, I know sometimes it's like, are these guys again? But
Yeah.
hope we made you proud. I know Justice was really
This
happy,
is
and
really,
yeah,
yeah, this is one that made my day. As Craig know anything for him and the team. I'm always there, always ready.
love it. Well, if you want to watch the
Yeah.
full video, go to YouTube, please, and go check it out. Our San Diego Soccer is on YouTube, and you can watch the entire video there. This is all you get for now, just a teaser. In the-
Fair enough. Fair
Nice,
enough.
nice.
Last thing for you, Tavoy, before we let you go. Sunday is going to be a special match. You guys are taking on the Mesquite Outlaws, and it's the second time we've done this as a franchise, but the first time since you've been here. Sunday is going to be sock toss night when the Sockers take on the Mesquite Outlaws. So what's happening is the fans, when they come to the game, they're going to be bringing with them a new pair of socks or underwear, and then when the first Sockers goal is scored, they're going to throw all the socks out on the field when they're going to get collected, and they'll be donated to the San Diego Rescue Mission to help out homeless folk here in San Diego and in the area. So the first time we did this, it's very special to be the sock toss goal scorer, to be the one who brings the rain, brings the thunder, brings the socks down from the stands onto the field. Your mate, Leo, is the first ever Sockers sock toss goal scorer. And I want to know, do you want to be the sock toss goal scorer on Sunday night?
Sure, why not? I always want to score to give my team the lead and the confidence, So I'm looking forward for a Sunday game, to put on a little show, a dancing for my fans, even though they didn't get to see it this Sunday, but for sure, this upcoming Sunday, we're going to do our best. Hopefully, I get the first goal to get the socks toss,
Then you can think of a little sock-related dance. If you get that first goal, just something using the socks.
Oh, he's ready.
I have
He
one,
has
don't
one.
worry.
Let's go.
I have one.
Incredible, my friend. Incredible stuff. Well, hey, listen, we'll not take any more of your time this evening, but we really, really appreciate you. Sockers fans love you to death. Here it is, 2 seasons, 2 rings. Let's make it 3 for 3. One of the young guns on this team, right? A guy that can make his future and make his legacy right here in San Diego. So proud of you, Tavoy, and thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me again.
All right, buddy.
Anytime.
All right, see you
That's
on
our guy.
Sunday.
Hey.
Tavoy Morgan.
Sunday.
Love him.
Yes.
Can't wait. See that dance. See that sock dance. Pulling up the socks. I love it. Can't wait. So happy to have this kid on our squad, Jerry. And I fill out that lineup sheet, my scoreboard, my broadcast board every match. And I was updating all the birthdays, all the ages, and kind of looking at those guys that you're like, wow, here's another guy on our team that's 33, 34, just turned 31, getting on that other side. Tavoy's 26.
Yeah.
26 going on 27. He's got years on years on years of being a great player. Think about what Craig Childs could do at age 37 and 38, and then think at age 26 what Tavoy Morgan is doing right now. And the future's just unlimited for Tavoy Morgan and the joy he brings to the Sockers and to their fans. I mean, it's almost unparalleled in terms of a player that brings that positive energy. And he said it so many times, rhythm. Just got to get that rhythm. And who has rhythm better than Tavoy?
No one. I mean, Leo can challenge him a little bit. I know Leo doesn't dance as much, clearly. But, I mean, when you see him, they're pretty good partners when it comes to dancing. I mean, their celebrations together are just epic. So, yeah, no, you love to see it. And I agree. Tavoy is somebody I'm so happy to have on this team, and what a difference maker he is and has been and will continue to be, hopefully, for a while. We're talking about the sock toss. Let me pull this up here real quick. Oh, that banner drop, by the way, I didn't mention it. But if you're listening, you're not watching, you should go to our YouTube page and watch the replay of this. This shot right here, how beautiful is that? Again, Justice just absolutely destroying it. But I wanted to show you. Sorry, were you going to say something?
Oh, there was a question Toy Runner asked, and I did see it. We were talking about something else. We were going through the game earlier, and he asked why Brian Farber didn't dress on Sunday and didn't play over the course of the weekend. And Toy Runner, why don't we just discuss it? So first off, they're still being pretty careful with Brian in terms of usage. Second, he's in literally the deepest position group on the team. Because, you think about a kid like who we have featured here on our December 18th Sock Toss Night graphic, Gerardo Jurado. He was only able to draw into 1 out of 2 matches this season, over the course of the weekend. Because are you going to sit Leo? Are you going to sit Escoto? Are you going to sit Charlie? Are you going to sit Pollo? Like, you're talking about some of the best players on the entire team, and those are your first 4, and then you think about guys who run like Jurado. Felipe Gonzalez. You going to take Felipe Gonzalez out of the lineup? These guys are really core players. So not to say Brian isn't, but I think Brian will find his way into the lineup either via rotation as they go through these back-to-backs or via injury. And then it's going to be his chance to try and hang on to that lineup spot over time. He has to fight for it, even in his last year, with an MVP trophy and 6 championships, in the mantle. He still has to fight for his shifts, and I think he understands that as well as anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for answering that one, because I did see that one come up, and I'm glad that we got to that. I also wanted to share really quick. Actually, do you want to talk about the Charity Sock Toss Night? We kind of already touched on it, but you should all be there. Those of you listening, I hope you're all there.
Yeah, just, kind of to reiterate one more time, you bring something, you get something, right? So we're really emphasizing the mechanics of this. We want you to bring that new pair of socks, bundled up just like a baseball, right? Have that ready to go. Throw it out on the floor when we score the first goal. But as you come into the arena while supplies last, you show us that sock that you've got to donate. You're going to get a pair of Soccer's branded socks that you get to bring home. A new addition to your wardrobe. So it's bring one, get one. Tell you what, if you bring a pack of Costco,
you still get
you don't get
one.
to have. Yeah, you get one pair.
You get one pair.
We love you if you bring a pack of Costco socks. We love you to death, and you can take 24 consecutive tosses out onto the field after Tavoy scores that goal. But you still get one pair of Soccer's socks for that. And it's just like the teddy bear toss at a hockey game, and it will be a little bit easier to clean up because you're not scraping them off the ice, which is always a challenge at Teddy Bear Toss Night. By the way, I had 3 years as the Gulls announcer, just as a side note, and I guarantee you Callan was at that game because he was the PA announcer and still is for the Gulls. There was one year, I think it was the second or third season I was with Gulls. Teddy Bear Toss Night, Saturday night, like 11,000 people at the arena, and the Gulls didn't score.
Ugh.
They just didn't score a goal. They didn't even score a goal. And it was so bad that they got to the final timeout of the third period, and it was like, okay, toss those teddies. We can't guarantee that we're going to score at all, so we don't want to have you all go home with your teddy bears, so throw them out. And it was like the saddest teddy bear toss ever. Like, we didn't score, but here, we'll still throw the teddies. So that's one great thing about the Sockers. We're going to score. We're going to score, and that it won't be with 1 minute to play in the fourth quarter. Like, that's just not going to be what happens. That's right, Callan. I think it was like an empty net goal, or not empty net, but like a 6-on-5 goal when they were down like 2 goals in the third period, and they finally got a goal in the last minute. And it was like, give me. And yes, they always would bring one bear. You see those bears at Costco sometimes, like the $100 teddy bear that's like 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
And someone would bring that, and then they would like crowd surf it down. They'd crowd surf it all the way down, and then they'd really struggle to get it over the glass, and like you'd have to like people were like pushing on the butt of the teddy bear to get it over the glass. It was good times.
So
Good
don't
times.
bring
Teddy bear
oversized
toss,
socks.
Good times.
Don't bring oversized
Yeah.
socks, please.
Elephant
And,
socks.
But if you do want to bring your pack of Costco socks, you will still get one pair of Soccer's socks, but you will also be donating to a great cause, and I think that's what we want. So, yeah, you're more than welcome to. Just be aware you're only going to get one pair. But that, yeah, I mean, how cool is that? I'm excited to see what those look like too. And it'll be a great time also against a great team, the Mesquite Outlaws. Really looking forward to it this coming Sunday.
Absolutely. Mesquite out 2-0. We'll talk more about them momentarily. Hey, something else really exciting happened on Sunday that we'd love to highlight, and we talked about it 3 episodes ago. We debuted our bilingual coverage of the club in terms of match day broadcast, as Nate Abarea and Melissa May and I had the English language call on Twitch, and then over on the MASL's new Spanish language partner platform, Canela.tv, Canela.tv. You can download that app. It is free, and you can check it out. Our guys, Tony and Chiva, 2 balls and a mic, had their first ever Spanish language play-by-play broadcast for the San Diego Sockers. We were able to track down, thanks to Canela, the game file. I think we'll be uploading that to YouTube because I saw a couple people, Jerry, asking, hey, I'd love to see that. I'd love to check it out. So I think for everyone's sake, we'll go ahead and do that. I know it aired. These guys, they didn't know. Like, their stars rising so fast. They do their first ever game. Synthesis TV carried their broadcast the very next night here in San Diego and Tijuana. So already they're getting like repeat plays, and they're getting that secondary market. I love it. But let's give. I mean, everyone. I thought I had a good call on the game-winning goal. I thought I did good. Had the whole. Is he going to end it? He ends it. Or the game that'll never end. Oh, he sort of might end it. I thought I had a good one. But Tony and Chiva. First game, golden goal. You get to call a golden goal. Let's hear it.
Let's go. You want to watch it? Should we share it?
I want to watch it. Let's hear it.
Let's
share it.
Primer equipo que anote gana este encuentro. Encuentro cerrado. Aquí está el error de San Diego que viene. ¡Tiro! ¡Gol! San Diego, César Cerda, golazo, se anticipa increíblemente, tira al lado izquierdo del arquero y el balón entra, gana San Diego, gana contra Empire Strikers, qué buena jugada individual, esa es la presión, ese es el coraje, César Cerda desde Saltillo, México. 2-1 acaba este encuentro. Los San Diego Sockers han ganado en casa.
Qué descuido de la defensa de los Strikers. Aquí, qué error. No se puede cometer eso en overtime. El descuido del pase. Cerda inteligentemente llega, la roba, saca el disparo perfecto a la pura orillita, al rinconcito, Tony, para ganar el encuentro. 2-1.
Es lo que estamos hablando, tienen que esperar el error. San Diego estaba pacientemente esperando exactamente eso. Se levanta la afición a la mano izquierda del arquero. ¡Qué buen tiro! Y gana San Diego. Cardíaco este encuentro.
So good. Cardíaco este encuentro. And he mentioned, Tony mentioned, oh, sorry, who's that in the middle? Nobody.
I was like, who's coming?
Who's coming? I got too excited. That call was too good, Craig. No, so I mean, you did a fantastic job. Okay, let's not downplay that. But this is the first time ever that these guys get to do it. Definitely wanted to highlight that. But Tony mentioned in their podcast recently that he came in with a mentality of like, I'm gonna do some calls if I get a chance, like WWE, like wrestling style. And he mentioned that he says, "There's this Saltillo Coahuila," like. And the way he said it was just perfect. I mean, the way that it all worked out and the way that they did that call was just great. And I think everybody here agrees. I see that in the chat. So cool.
I tell you what, too, it's so cool knowing that those guys were, 15, 20 feet away from us, but having kind of the same discussion, because you heard when we were talking about and breaking down Saturday's game, Nate and I were waiting for the mistake, for the error. And then you hear, aquí está el error. Here's the error. Here's the mistake. And indeed, and then Serta with the absolutely perfect shot. So exciting to have the boys back. By the way, SD Soccer's 2 season begins this Sunday at 12 o'clock. First doubleheader match of the year at Pechanga Arena. And Tony and Chifa will be back on our Facebook channel or on SD Soccer's 2 Facebook page with the live play-by-play in English. Some English play-by-play. So bilingual, bi-talented, covalent. They're everything.
Yeah.
They're just, they're incredible.
Yeah, so good to have him as part of the team this year. And, man, yeah, excited to hear that, too. Soccer's, too, by the way, may I remind y'all, returning champions as well make their return to the Grand Ole Arena, back to the season. I think the season is already underway, right, Craig? So this is the first time that the Soccer's, too, actually play a game. But the season's already been underway.
Yeah, just not ours. The team hasn't played.
No, I don't think
our
we've
team
played.
hasn't played.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I know we haven't because there was a question at our staff meeting today, and they're like, "Oh yeah, they're signing some of the guys this week."
Oh, really? Oh, that's going to be interesting.
Just hey, it is what it is. But yeah, Empire Jets, the secondary club to Empire Strikers. Empire Jets will be the opponent, formerly known as Fury 2. So it'll be Sockers 2 v. Jets at 12 o'clock, and then Sockers versus Outlaws Sunday at 5 o'clock. Sock Toss night. Bring the socks. And indeed, for season ticket members, free parking, complimentary tickets to the match. And don't forget, if you come in and park at 12 o'clock and you just keep the car there, maybe, walk over to Brazil by the Bay or maybe Bay City Brewing, maybe go across the street to Chili's, whatever you want to do. They're not going to come around and find you for $15. You're already in for free. So that's a great way to save. Asking, I think Gio's question was the schedule of Spanish language broadcasts for the Sockers. And I'll just say that really quickly. There will be 4 in the regular season. The first one just happened. The second will be when Chihuahua comes to town on January 29th. The third will be March 17th when Monterrey comes to town. So, I mean, being pretty straightforward about that when we're playing the Mexican teams, we wanted to have Spanish language as a simulcast. The fourth will be our season finale, regular season finale, currently scheduled for Sunday, April 2nd. Can I just tell you there's a great chance that game is going to go on Saturday, April 1st? Can I just tell you there's an excellent chance that we're going to have that game move to primetime Saturday night for the final regular season match? That's coming out later this week. We sometimes break news on Soccer's Overtime.
And it's not an April Fool's joke.
It's not an April Fool's joke.
I was about to say that,
joke.
Marlicia. Brilliant minds. Before
it's not an April Fool's joke.
Before I saw your message, I was thinking that too. Yeah, and that would be great. I mean, regardless, I'll be there. We'll see you there. It's my son's birthday on the 2nd, so I would love to be with him. But if we can get it on the 1st, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be on the 1st, guys. It's going to be on the 1st. And we're happy about that. We'd rather have a match on a Saturday than a Sunday night whenever possible. The previous match is on a Thursday, so it does make it harder because it'll just be one day in between Milwaukee and Tacoma. But, hey, happy about it. Little breaking news. Okay, quickly, let's go around the league after the first now 3 weekends of play. But last weekend, the first full weekend of play where everyone was going, 7 matches on Saturday, 4 more on Sunday. And Mesquite,
Overload.
Jerry, Mesquite, they beat Monterrey 2-1. We talked about that match last week's show. I think we more focused on Monterrey not looking good. Mm-hmm. Mesquite came out and beat Kansas City, a good team, 5-3, and now they are 2-0 coming to town. Wow. Okay. Good on Mesquite. 6 points, top of the table.
Yeah, I think we knew Mesquite is gonna be a good team this year, and so far so good. Kind of similar to us, I would say. But yeah, I mean, what a much better showing, I would say, in their second game. It's going to be an interesting one, for them coming in 2 games. Luckily, again, get a little bit of luck, maybe having to play them, after they play the Empire Strikers. But it's going to be a great game regardless. Mesquite has a fantastic team, and you're starting to see it now. I mean, you're really starting to see that they're going to be a team to really watch this season.
And we'll talk more about them to wrap up the show and the segment as we preview the next match. Monterrey went out to Tacoma, blew them out 10-3. We were really wondering, can the Flash score goals? They only had 1 goal, and it came 6 attacker against Mesquite. They just were scoring at ease in Tacoma. And Danny Viella, ex-soccer back in the day, player out of Baja California, out of Tijuana, went to Harrisburg, really improved. Now he's moved on to Monterrey. Hat trick with an assist up in Tacoma. So partially answering the question. Obviously the Stars, as we know, they're kind of that mid-level in terms of a team that sometimes will rise up and give you a game and sometimes will really get smoked. And they got smoked by Monterrey. Chihuahua came out, beat Dallas, looked really good, looked strong. 9-6 the final. They were 3-0 up in a hurry. Dallas struggled in that opener, but I really just look at Chihuahua as one team that at least, Florida is another team like this. I want to definitely say Florida is another team like this, but a team that can say, okay, Sockers, you have this guy, we have that guy. You have this guy, we have that guy. Kind of match up 1 for 1 down the list. Chihuahua's got defense. Chihuahua's got Berna in net. They've got Torres up front. They've got Flaco. They've got Rios. They've got Puentes. Got a good team.
I mean, you had Enrique Cañas scoring 3 goals. You had Hugo Puentes scoring 2. You were mentioning Hugo Puentes. I mean, what a fantastic team that they have. And returning, again, still surprised that a lot of them didn't move on to Monterrey. But, I mean, you got to give kudos to Dallas. They have some pretty good players over there as well. And they put up a good fight, even though I don't think the scoreline really reflects what that game looked like at the end of the day. If we're being fair, that 9-6 scoreline, I think that it could have been more from Chihuahua, and it could have been less from Dallas. Blas Perez giving hope to all dad bods everywhere, scoring 2 goals that night too. I mean, that's. I mean, he's a great player as well, and he still has it. I mean, he may not be the quickest, but he knows, he perfectly places the ball where it needs to be sometimes. And this game was one of those games where he did that.
And lastly, in the West is Empire. Now, Dallas is 0 points in 1 game. Empire is 1 point in 3 games. So technically they're in 6th place, but Dallas has 2 games in hand to get a point to put Empire in last place. And dating back to last season now, the Strikers have lost 11 matches in a row. And I'm kind of just at the spot where I say, well, what do you do with this team? And I think it's kind of where you said it, and then we'll just leave it, is they're going to be better at some point this year. You have to think that they're going to be better. NDI is a young player that could grow into that club, but something's got to change in Empire. I mean, it's not clicking, and I still don't see it clicking. Like, I just don't see the synergy, the chemistry. It seems like the same club we saw last year right now. And in particular, I know the Sockers do a great job with the King, but Frank Tayu, 1 goal in a 6v4 6th attacker situation, shut out again in the run of play where any goal would have won the match for his club last game. It's just shocking to me, and I'm sure he'll have a 4 or 5 goal game here coming up real soon, against someone else. But honestly, San Diego, it's just a bummer, I think, for Empire that they started, they got into a skid last year. They had to face the Sockers in a must-win game. They got beat, and then they start the year against the Sockers, and they get beat twice more. And I think we just leave them here. We'll catch up with them a month from now and see if there's been a big improvement. And I kind of hope there is. I don't want to see them become a punching bag. I don't want to see them, go 0 for the season or something. I want to see a good team up in Empire, and I hope it's still in them.
Yeah, I agree, but I think this is where the coach and coaching staff is going to come into play. Can they get their spirits up, because it hasn't been easy for them the last 11 games, and having to face us as many times as it has, I'm sure they hate it now that they have to face us. But this is where I think a coach can make a difference. And can you put them in the right mentality and say the right things to this squad to getting back to where we know, I think everybody knows they should be much, much better. But you're right. I mean, the King has just, he's disappeared a bit, at the beginning of the season, and you just hate to see it. And you're right. I mean, a 4 to 5 goal game is coming. It's on the way from him. But it's also going to, really matter what the mentality is, and their mentality right now just doesn't seem to be right.
In the Eastern Conference, quickly, the one team I'm really keeping my eye on is Florida. I think the league sets up for a San Diego, Florida rematch. We don't get to play them in the regular season this year, which is new. I think the last 3-4 seasons we've played Florida at least once every year. But they went into Baltimore when the Blast had already played a couple matches, and it was their first match of the year, and they took care of business, won that game. Baltimore did one of their classic fourth quarter comeback things and could have stolen the game, and still Florida won, and Ruggles set up the game winner. I feel like they are the class of the league. They're not at the top of the table just on games played. Almost everyone in the East has played 3 or 4 matches. I think that they will win the East. Everyone else is kind of chopping it up. Harrisburg 0-2. Everyone else has pretty much been win 1 at home, lose 1 on the road. Kansas City's 2-2. Milwaukee went 1-1. There's just kind of a lot of matriculating around the 500 mark, with the exception of Florida, just 1 game in. Utica, off to a better start, that's for sure.
Yeah.
At 2-1-1, Gordy Gerson playing better. I think the West is stronger than the East. I just think, looking at the 2 conferences right now, there's going to be a little bit stronger 1 through 5 competition in the West compared to the East. I think both leagues have a team at the bottom of the league, but it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. St. Louis, Kansas City, Utica, throw them in a hat. To me, it's Florida, and then you always worry about Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, Drew Ruggles is just such a fantastic player for Florida. You mentioned it, 3 goals, 1 assist in the game against Baltimore. But Baltimore did give him a bit of a fight. And, I mean, you have to remember also that Baltimore has Lucas Roque, who is just crazy good, and I think scored
fire.
4 goals or something on that game. So, I mean, again, Baltimore is a good team right now that I don't think has gotten to as good as it's going to be. But I agree with you. I think, Florida is that one team in the East that is just fantastic. I also would agree that the West is the best. So it's going to be really interesting to follow these teams. And good for Gordy Gerson, man. He's back to his scoring ways, back to who I think we all know Gordy Gerson to be. He hasn't been that in the last couple of seasons. Definitely wasn't that for us. He got injury. He got hurt, injury prone while he was here, and I think also, other teams before. But it's just going to be a really, really fun season if you're not already following. What a crazy weekend it was as it is, Craig. I mean, 11 games, I was just overwhelmed. I think I posted a picture. I had 4 screens going on my computer at once, trying to keep track of all these games. But how much fun is it that we're back? It's just keeping track of that specific day. And this specific weekend was not the easiest of things, to be honest.
Well, let's wrap up with our match preview as the Sockers take on the Mesquite Outlaws this weekend. Just 1 match, Sunday home match. Gates open at 4 o'clock. 5:06 will be the kickoff for the Sockers and the Outlaws. And yes, Mesquite, 2 home victories by 2-1 and 5-3 scores in 2 consecutive weekends to get going. Exciting for Tattoo and company to be out on a very strong foot here with a 2-0. But then you take a look at the numbers, Jerry, and the Outlaws being 2-0 is about one thing, and it's about Eduardo Pollo Cortez
Jeez, seriously.
in net. I mean, he has been dynamite. He has a 2.00 goals against average, having played each minute of the first 2 games, and he has a 90% save percentage so far. Obviously, not going to keep that going. He's not going to finish at 90%, but you hear that, and it sounds incredibly intimidating. I'd then like to follow up by noting he's made 36 saves on 40 shots against in the first 2 matches. So he's seen a lot of shots in those games, and I think if you see that number of shots from the Sockers with a week rest, it's going to be pretty hard to hold him to 1 goal or you stop 9 out of 10 shots.
Yeah, I was looking at his stats. I mean, man, Pollo is just – he's on a roll right now. I mean, 40 shots against – let's just repeat that. 40 shots against, 4 goals scored on him. I mean, it's nuts. They do have some firepower as well. I would say that there's a few players that are going to be really good for them. Some players to look out for, not just Pollo, but I would say Sebastian Mendes is going to be somebody that you want to look out for. But along with like David Ortiz, Luis Morales, players like that are just really good players. And then I know George De Leon, I think, has scored like maybe 1 goal, but another familiar face from the Empire made his way back. Was on loan, I believe, from Mesquite, or was with Mesquite before. Mesquite was not playing that season, came to Strikers, and now is back there. It's gonna be a tough match, I think, for us. But you're right. I think that percentage is gonna drop when they face us. I would hope.
Yeah, Morales, good player, defending newcomer of the year. De Leon, we know he can score. He can put up goals in the teens, maybe more if he's the focus of the offense over the course of the year. But after 2 games, a defender leads your team in goals with 2. It's not a high-scoring attack. They have not generated a lot of chances. And the one guy that I remember came over the first year of Mesquite and they couldn't bring him back is Jamie Lovegrove. And I think if you had a guy like a Jamie Lovegrove on Mesquite that could be creative, and that could really help kind of galvanize the offense, they'd be a much more difficult team. What I'm expecting this week is for San Diego, I don't want to say to give Mesquite a lesson, but to take them out of Texas and to take care of the match, and get a victory here this weekend. I think Mesquite's going to be tough to play at home. The Sockers lost the one and only time they played in Mesquite back in 2020. I was at that match. It's a cold arena. It's kind of a different feeling, and I think it's a good advantage to Mesquite. I think them coming out here on Sunday, playing their second match in 3 days, I like the Sockers in this one. Not to dismiss them, Cortez is a good enough keeper to keep the game close and maybe potentially steal it. But I think if the Sockers maintain their focus, they have significantly more scoring talent than the Outlaws do.
Craig, I don't want to jinx this, but could it be another goalkeeper battle again at home? Back-to-back games, home games where, not back-to-back, but 2 games at home, one after the other, where it's all about the goalkeepers. I mean, it's a possibility. I don't think it's going to be as low scoring. I really don't, because you're right. I think Mesquite, there's some holes there. I think that we're going to be able to take advantage of this coming weekend. So we need the help of the fans there.
Looking forward to it.
We need everybody there making some noise.
Callan's calling for a 1-0 Sockers win.
Oh my gosh!
Stop it, Callan. Stop it.
What is this? Outdoor?
It's sock toss night, Callan.
Stop it.
I don't want just 1 goal. Can at least the goal be in the first quarter so we don't have to have people standing by to pick up the socks the entire 2 hours? You're just going, when's it coming? When's it coming? When's it coming?
I know what he's doing. Oh, he meant 10-0. Yeah.
Oh, 10-0. Okay, sure. All right.
He's doing the reverse.
Okay, all right.
He's doing the reverse jinx is what it is. That's it.
Fair enough. Okay. All right. Yeah. Stop it, Eddie. Cut it out. Cut it. 1-0 in overtime. Cut it out.
Stop.
I like John. 5-2. That sounds good to me. John San Diego 619 says San Diego wins 5-2. I'd sign up for 5-2.
take that.
I'd sign up for 5-2. I'd prefer 7 or 8-3. I think that's about 7-3. That's about where I'd like to land it. That's where I'd like to see the plane land, is somewhere in there. But if 5-2 would be fine. 1-0, not fine, not okay.
Not okay.
Love seeing all the score predictions in the chat. Well, there it is. Charity Sock Toss Night, December 18th, this Sunday, 5 o'clock. Gates open at 4 o'clock. Bring your socks. New and unused pair of underwear also works. Toss your socks, chuck your chonies. Throw them out there.
The choni chuck. I like that.
Toy Runner asks, last question, where do we buy our replica championship ring? I would contact Malloy's.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the jewelers. They're the fine jewelers. I would contact Malloy's and say, what can you make for me? What can we do? Okay, that brings a wrap to this week's show. We almost climbed to the 90-minute mark, but we came up just a little bit short. But the Sockers did not, pulling out 2 victories so far. So good. There it is. There is that beauty.
Look at that.
That gorgeous ring. That's your ring, Jerry.
Yeah, that's mine. Yeah, I took that at the end of the game. I was like, oh, man, I feel like I need to take a good picture of the ring to end the night. And, yeah, that came out.
So pretty.
So happy.
So pretty. So pretty. Absolutely love it. Thanks to everybody hanging out in the chat. Thanks to Tavoy Morgan, our special guest on this week's show. And, again, Sunday, we'll talk to you 12 o'clock on Facebook. Tony and Chiva with the call for SD Soccers 2 against Empire Jets. 5 o'clock on Twitch on the MASL_soccer channel for Nate Abraham, Melissa May, and myself with the English language call. If you miss it all, you can watch the game on replay the next night on Synthesis.tv. For Jerry Jimenez, I'm Craig Elston saying thanks to everyone for getting to the end of the show. If you're listening to the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. If you are watching on YouTube, please smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and right here on Twitch, make sure that you're following us so that you're alerted for every live broadcast. Until next time, for Jerry Jimenez, I'm Craig Elston saying we'll see you Sunday at the arena. So long, and go Sockers!